Hello there, good afternoon and welcome to Blacexpats in Spain. Today, the Colombian Catwoman is in conversation with Natalie, a British-born Black expat who has been in Spain for almost a decade. So welcome to the show, Natalie.
Thank you very much for having me.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you for being here and giving your time today. Would you like to just give a short introduction to yourself, where you live just generally, and that's it just for our listeners. Please tell us about yourself.
Okay, so yeah, my name is Natalie. I'm 30 years old, British Nigerian. My mum's British, my dad's Nigerian, and I live in central Madrid. I've lived in Spain for about 10 years now. I've lived in Valencia, Barcelona, and Madrid, and I am a fashion designer, and I also work part-time for a Spanish company. So.
Fantastic, thank you. So I lived in Colombia about 6 years ago now, and I created a clothing line. So I didn't know that you were a fashion designer. Yeah, I created a clothing line for plus size women. So that's something that I do. Yeah. So that's something that we've got in common as well, which is fantastic. So Nigerian heritage. Why Spain? Why did you choose Spain all those moons ago?
Well, I actually studied Spanish at university, and like many other people who did the program, assumed I'd become completely fluent in the 4 years. Didn't happen, actually. I spent my third year in Spain.
Where in Spain? I did my Erasmus year in Spain as well.
Did you? I was in Valencia for that.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, Spanish wasn't fluent, wasn't even that good, actually. And I remember getting back to England so disappointed. And so I said to my mum and dad, I was like, right, I'm going to go to Spain to teach English, really like brush up on my Spanish, and then I'll be back after a year.
So is that because you didn't manage to brush up on your Spanish, or your Spanish was so good that you found a way to, implement it into your daily life? What was it?
I wish it were the latter, but my first year, I lived with 2 Spanish girls and an American girl. And I think what's really common in Spain is if you are a native English speaker, everybody wants to practice their English with you. And that happened with me. And so my Spanish was still terrible after the first year. And I said, look, I can't be doing this. So I was like, let me stay for 1 more year, really get fluent, and then I can work anywhere in the world. And yeah, that didn't happen either. I just sort of stayed here. Every year there was a new adventure and something else to get into. And here we are.
Okay, fantastic.
Almost 10 years later, yeah.
Do you see yourself living in Spain kind of indefinitely?
You've caught me at a bit of a crossroads in life, because I'm actually going back to the UK in 2 weeks. I've ummed and ahed about this question every single year I've been here. Every summer, because I feel like that's when every job kind of comes to a bit of a pause. Everyone in Spain goes on holiday and stuff.
And it closes down, yeah.
Every summer, I've had a semi-existential crisis about do I stay or do I go? And I always make that list of pros and cons for both countries, the UK and Spain. And Spain has won every year, except for this last year, because I'm finding it kind of hard to get to where I want to be in Spain. And the frustrating thing is, I know I probably would have got there 10 years ago in the UK, but so yeah, I'm going home in 2 weeks. I've only bought a one-way ticket home, so we'll see how long I'm going to spend in Manchester, and if I get sick of it and come right back in the new year.
Okay. Yeah. So you're northern to me. I'm a Brummie, so you're northern.
I thought you were.
Yeah, I think a lot of people go through process in Spain in particular, because things close down, contracts are temporary, 9 months, 3 months, etc. And I think Brexit has helped and hasn't helped a lot of people to push pull in
too soon, Jeanette, too soon.
Yeah, so you're not the only one having an existential crisis, and it's where to, but why for you are the only 2 options, Spain and the UK? Well,
simply because I'm familiar with both. My partner's American, and we've discussed moving to America. That's kind of a terrifying prospect to me, just because of the healthcare situation, if nothing else. And I've been going through some health-related things lately. Simply because I'm familiar with the UK fashion industry. And Spain doesn't actually have one. So that
Valencia, well, there's one in Valencia and one in Madrid, isn't there? There's like some weeks, yeah?
Sort of, but it's just not.
Nah.
I think we'll probably get into this later. Being a Black woman in Spain is difficult in itself.
What do you mean?
I know, shock horror.
Hence the podcast.
Hence the podcast, exactly. And I'm just finding it
exhausting, fascinating. Yeah.
I'm worn out. I am fed up.
Thank you. Oh my God. The daily battles, yeah.
Daily, hourly, half hourly. It's just, oh goodness. And it's not because I don't speak Spanish. It's not because I don't know Spain. There's just been some hurdles that I think I'm just too old now to be dealing with, and so that's why I'm going to go home. I did a lot of my promotional content for my brand back home, and it was just so much easier, so much more straightforward, and I just don't want to struggle anymore. So that's why I'm going to go back home and kind of make up for lost time, really.
Yeah,
yes,
I hear you. Definitely. And it's funny that your partner's American, because I look at the counterparts, and we shouldn't compare, but our counterparts in America who are able to, who are talking about they made $1 billion this month on TikTok, and then in Spain we're trying to scramble over the dirt. Literally
I had to share one of my chicken breasts the other day with my cat, and I was just like, this is not the life I envisioned for myself when I was 21.
Yeah, so similarities. I did my degree in Spanish. I did a year abroad.
Oh yeah.
So it's good. It's not great that we're all in the shit and we're all suffering, and life is hard for us here in Spain. That's been my experience. So it's great to hear that echo, but it's not good.
Yeah.
Know that that's the reality, and we're not the only ones, and we're a European passport, and then we can talk about that. The I can't think of the term that we use, but the priorities that we have, not the priorities, that's not the term that I want to use, but the benefits that we have. You're light skin, I'm lighter, we're not African.
Yes.
So we speak English and we speak Spanish, so we're able to defend ourselves far too often. So you make a living working part-time for a Spanish company and working on your own brand.
Yes.
Getting into a Spanish company as an employee, how was that? How was that? And did it take 7 of the 10 years for that to happen, or did it happen in year 1?
Oh, I just shivered. It's too relatable. Well, I've done everything under the sun job-wise. When I first came here, I was an English teacher, hated it. And then I started working for a wedding magazine. I was an editor of a wedding magazine, which was just, the benefits of that was simply because I had a blog back in the day when everybody had a blog, and I spoke native English. They were desperate, and they said, great, you're English, you speak it better than we do, you're in. So I started doing that literally, and then I was a wedding planner, and I worked with exclusively expats. I did American weddings, British weddings, anything but Spanish weddings basically. And then I went to work in the company I work part-time for now, which is it's a company called Mr. Wonderful, and it does like mugs and diaries and school stuff and things like that. And they basically were just desperate to find a native English speaker with residency who could work legally. That was basically the criteria, and which is kind of devastating, isn't it, really? They didn't know if I had any talent, if I could spell. Luckily I'm really into languages in general, and playing on words and making, so they were lucky in that respect. But really the criteria was you can work here legally and you speak English better than we do. Yeah,
which is good, which is hopeful, for others. Yeah. So you're in Madrid. I know that flights back and forth to the UK are like really frequently and very inexpensive on the mainland. I'm in Gran Canaria, so it's a little bit of a different story. Flights are like 4 hours, 4.5 hours to the mainland, and not as regular and not as cheap, because it's an all year round tourist destination.
Right.
So do you miss, what do you miss from the UK? Is the question that I want to ask you.
How long have you got?
As long as you need.
the question is, what don't I miss? The funny thing is that one of the reasons I moved to Spain, apart from wanting to speak Spanish, is that I didn't feel like I really belonged. I don't know. I guess I had my cheetah girls moment and found the magic abroad. But the truth is that I speak to my mum. My mum's my best friend. I speak to her every day on
That's
FaceTime.
great.
And I miss British food, which is surprising because I didn't grow up on British food. We had a Nigerian diet my whole life, but I miss the variety of food.
You're in the capital.
Oh,
not on an island.
I can only imagine what you're going through. I miss good ready meals. I miss boots. I miss variety of flavors. I miss seasonings. I miss good TV. I miss Gogglebox. I miss first dates. I miss so many things that
First dates, we have that here in Spain.
Is it the same though?
I like it. I think they're quite good at what they do. I think that I think they have the intention of people really finding love, as opposed to it being a whole joke, the whole still a black, let's laugh at these people.
Yeah.
I think that they actually do try to matchmake people that are really well suited.
Yeah, but they do. I kind of I don't know, I like First Dates Hotel. I feel like I know that, the waiters and waitresses, and I miss just randomly, I miss a good cup of tea. I bring tea bags from the UK, but the water's not the same, the milk's not the same, it's not the same. I just miss I miss squash, actually.
Ribena.
These are a godsend. I've got one in bed next to me. I miss lots of different things. I miss the familiarity. I miss the cold weather. I know, terrible, isn't it?
You have winters in Madrid.
We do, yeah. We're supposed to be in one right now, but it's like it's about 20 degrees. Yeah, it's quite mild. The sun's out. You don't know whether you're hot or cold. You go out dressed warm, but you're sweating. But then you take it off, then you're freezing. You know what I mean? But yeah, the winters here are pretty brutal. January time, forget it. Just stay in. It's horrific.
So I'm going to say, just kind of on the food note, what I will say to you, what we have in the Canaries is the expat culture, which is the expat British and German culture, so that there are shops that do stock British products here.
Right.
I even found some jerk seasoning in that shop as well. Yeah, a wet one and a dry one. Yeah.
I had to go back to Manchester. And when I did, I posted in the Melanie Madrid group, I said, anyone needs seasonings? The way these people jumped on the opportunity. I came back to the car with all my stuff, and my mum was like, you've got 3 bags worth of spice. I said, Mum, the people need me. And I came back and was like distributing the spices all around.
I see a business opportunity there, if only.
Yeah.
So you're kind of at that stage where you miss everything. You're ready to go back. That's how you feel. Yeah, 10 years in, and really not enough progression, not enough professional progression for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, tell me about it. And it's kind of, no matter how well qualified you are, it's still, the doors are still closed.
It doesn't matter. My Uber driver 2 days ago was an investment banker. He's Spanish, was working in investment banking in London. Came back to Madrid and he's driving Uber. Nothing wrong with that, but he said himself, he was like, I miss like the stimulating work environment. If I could get a job in Spain. And I was like, but he spoke wonderful English, obviously, spoke English, Spanish, had investment banking experience, and couldn't get a job like that in Spain. And he's Spanish, which I just find mind-blowing. Yeah.
So you're at the end maybe of your time here in Spain, but what would you say to the Black expats that are thinking about moving and relocating to Spain?
Let me not upset these kids, because community is everything here. The Melanie Madrid community is really, really, it's like a one-stop shop for everything. Advice for hairdressers, beauty products, treatments, places to go, activities. The community is so supportive.
Let me stop you there. That's in Madrid. You've lived in Barcelona, you've lived in Valencia. So was community a thing for you in those places? Did you have what you needed?
I mean, bear in mind, my experience in Valencia was a very long time ago, but all we had there as Black people was racism. That's all we had. There was no, I'm sorry to say it, but also
no paella.
Oh God. It was horrific. And so that, yeah, no community there at all. I was there with some more, I had black and brown British friends there. And I remember when we were in class one day, the teacher said, "Oh, we have some British students." And we were like, "Yeah," and we were like, "Yeah, it's us." And she was like, "No, no, no, it says British." We were like, "Yeah, yeah." She was like, "No, no, 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 you must be confused. Do you speak Spanish?" We were like, "Yes." She's like, "British students." And we've all got English names. And she was like, "Natalie." I was like, "That's me." And she was like, and she was looking at us like it couldn't be possible. I was thinking, oh my gosh. Barcelona, when I was there for 4.5 years, and I didn't.
How long ago was that? Just to interrupt you, how long ago was that?
Yeah, so I came back. I left Barcelona in 2019. Yeah, so I left Barcelona in 20. Was it 20? Oh, it was 2020. Oh my gosh, I remember because I went home to visit my mum and dad, and then got stuck there because of the pandemic. Yeah, so it was February, March 2020. I left, and community-wise, didn't find any. But I mean, back then I was working a full-time job and an extra job, so I didn't really have time to find any. But what I did look for was like a community similar to Melon in Madrid. No such thing that I could find.
It matter though in Barcelona because it's like the multicultural, and I hate that term, but the multicultural capital of Spain and the most progressive city in Spain. Did you feel that you needed community there? You always feel that you need community?
Yes, I think it's important to have the shared experience. And the thing with Barcelona, with it being, cosmopolitan and stuff, is that people come and go all the time. Like to have a long-lasting friendship or a long-lasting relationship is honestly really difficult. And I think the sense of community is a lot more different because people come for the fun and the art and the blah, 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 and then they leave. So that makes it difficult to create like a long-lasting community. But I do think it's important. My time in Barcelona was interesting. Considering it is cosmopolitan, I don't think it's as progressive as people think it is, especially in terms of race. And I had some of my most surprising racist experiences in Barcelona.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a wow thing because I was looking around like, are you joking? Like you expect it to be so thriving and vibrant and everyone appreciates difference. But I find that the Catalan versus Spanish thing and the tradition of Catalan people is actually not really doesn't go well with race.
None. They're renowned for being very kind of protective, the Catalan, the Catalonians, and very kind of I can't think of the term, but they don't feel that they're part of Spain and that they're a part of anything other than being Catalan. Very regional, very protective. I remember being in Barcelona, I don't know, on my year abroad, it must have been or something like that. This is, I don't know, 10 years ago, actually, 16 years ago, and trying to speak Spanish, asking for a street name, and the taxi driver was just so rude and like, I don't understand you, and like, no. And I was like trying to show him, and he just was not interested, like it wasn't Spanish, he just wasn't interested. So that was one of the experiences that I remember from my time in Barcelona.
Yeah, it's difficult.
Your partner's American, you're British, you live with other people, and it sounds as though you move in a very international circle. Do you feel like you've wanted to integrate into the Spanish culture? Feel as though you've been invited to integrate into the culture? Do you want to, is number one, and then were the doors open?
Well, my last girlfriend was Spanish actually, and we were together for like 2.5 years. I never met her parents because they were racist. She told me that.
You can't ever come home.
Yeah.
What was that? Was it that you wouldn't, the relationship would never progress any further than what it was? Was that also what she was saying as well?
I felt sorry for her because she was devastated. I think we've all had embarrassing parents or embarrassing family member experiences. But it was very peculiar because they would like, her mum would buy me gifts for Christmas and things like that, but I wasn't welcome in the home.
You'd met the parents, they'd met you, and
no, they'd heard of me through my ex and things like that. And I sent them some things from England because her brother lives in London. He's a lot more open-minded. In fact, all the kids are open-minded. It's just the parents that are a bit
next generation will be fine.
Yeah. And I sent them some things because she was saying that her mum really likes shortbread. So I sent some shortbread and some English things like English tea and stuff like that. She was delighted, but it's just a very peculiar. The topic of racism among the Spanish is a very interesting one because I feel like they don't consider themselves racist, but their behavior is so
basically racist. Like, we're not racist, I'm not racist, but go away and die in the sea.
yeah. Literally. So yeah, I've definitely tried to integrate into the culture, and I've been received, I think, because I hate to say it, but I think I'm not black enough to cause anyone much discomfort.
You can say it because that's what the reality is. That's what the reality is of your experience.
And it's weird, they'll say things to me that they think is a compliment. They'll say like, "Oh, you don't really seem very African," almost in a thank God kind of way. And I'm like, hold on now. That's ridiculous. I mean, I am pale. I'm actually anemic at the moment. So
and you live in Madrid.
Yeah, that's why I'm looking like this. But it's like you forget that, like, I grew up on a Nigerian diet with Nigerian music. My dad was present in my life, still is. Yeah, like that's not a compliment to me. To hear things like that, and I think they would be like, oh yeah, you're British. Yeah, you speak English. I can practice my English with you. But for genuine connection and interest in the culture and stuff, I remember when I used to wear my head wraps to work. I had people on the metro. It's like, you know, when people do a quick picture and people at work were like, wow, that's so exotic, it's so interesting, I want to do it, blah blah blah. I was like,
why?
Yeah, like, I don't know whether it's I know there's a compliment in there somewhere, but it's just sort of hidden under layers of ignorance.
Yeah, the amount of times I get told that my eyes are pretty for a black person and things like that, and sometimes it's like, sometimes I just hate the compliment and I'm like, I can't be bothered to school on this day, or I can't be bothered with the debate, and it's just like people that just, the education just kind of passes by when you're trying to drop a little lesson. So,
definitely.
Yeah. What would you say to the Nicole of 10 years ago?
Listen to your mum and dad. No, I think about that now and laugh about it, because I think if I had listened to my family, I'd definitely not be eating rice and beans in Madrid. But I think I had to go through it. I think, and I don't mean any disrespect to Spain or the Spanish, but
we're very grateful. However,
I think being here so long has made me see that I can adapt to anything, because I've had to here, honestly, to get a job and to move through. I've had to do different jobs and have different types of landlords and live with different types of people and so on. So I can adapt to anything. But I don't think I would have known that had I done this in the UK, the US, a country with like just a better infrastructure. I don't know. I think I would have possibly not been made aware of my potential as much as I am now, because I sometimes look at the way things function and I'm like,
to the edge.
Like sometimes, like I just look at things and I'm like, I don't even work in this environment, but I could do this better than you. You know what I mean? And it's made me realize, yeah, I can do stuff, which is why I'm getting the heck out of it now. So what could I have told myself 10 years ago? Oh Lord. I would have said that lifestyle, going to having a glass of wine after work and a terrace and a blah blah blah, does not make you, it won't make you happy in the long term. Sometimes you have to knuckle down, get that bread, and then you can live a nice lifestyle having tapas every day of the week in 5 or 6 years time. Don't do it backwards like I did. Don't do all the lifestyle and the the la-di-da in your 20s, and then when you get to 30 realize actually you've not really got much of a career base, and I've had to do a 180 and start my own business to actually get anywhere. So that's the advice I'd give. Like, don't be blinded by the beach and the tapas and the cheap this and that. Like, you need to create a solid foundation for yourself, and respectfully that just doesn't happen here.
You know of people similar to yourself, black expats, in particular my interest is from the UK, but it could be from any other English speaking country, that have made it have kind of been able to progress in the country that are flourishing like our white counterparts. Some are, some aren't. It's not the easiest country and the easiest infrastructure, but do you know of anyone who is doing well here?
Heartbreakingly, I know of one person, and that's because she lives in a rent-controlled apartment and has a sugar daddy. And that's her, like, that's the lifestyle she seeks. I know, isn't it? And when I think about it, there's not a single, I feel like everybody I've met, especially in the Black community, has so much potential and so much ability and so much drive, and is very fastidious and can bend themselves into all sorts of shapes to do this, that, and the third. They've just not had the opportunity, and as a consequence, I don't know anybody who I would say has made it. And what I mean by that is, I don't mean just by money, but just grown into something that they
on their own terms and doing, you know, flourishing.
They've really grown into their potential. I don't know a soul. The majority of people I know here are English teachers, and I don't know one of them who actually wanted to teach, who wants to be an English teacher. For many, it's just a way to get to live here, you know, and then get a visa and do all that. I haven't, in all my years here, I've not met a single person who actually says, yeah, I really want to teach English and that's why I'm here. Not a soul. And I'm almost waiting for that person to be like, yeah, Spain is where I couldn't make it back in the US. Spain is where I'm making it. Haven't met one. I don't know if I will in future. Most of my friends leave every year to go back home and actually get on with their lives.
Like,
yeah, I've lost 6 this year. And it's like,
that's a lot.
Yeah,
more than the number of friends I actually have to listen.
It's so sad. It's like a revolving door. I'm like, right, taking applications, anybody? Yeah, it's shocking. So no, I actually haven't met anyone who's made it. And the girl with the sugar daddy, I don't think that's not what she set out to do. She just said, listen, I have standards, and the only way I can get them met is to have this, you know, particular lifestyle. But I wouldn't say that she's made it either, because that's not what she would like to do and what she would ordinarily do in another country.
That's big. That's big. There are a few things that I just kind of want to finish up on. One is that, have you been able to live on your own whilst living in Spain if you wanted to? So if you wanted to live on your own in a flat or on your own with your partner, have you been able to, or has it always been basically the income doesn't match the outgoing, so it's never been an option?
Yes, I had one good year. Well,
in 1922.
Oh my gosh, I know. I think back to the days when I was a young girl. I did 1 year. I had one good year out of 10, and I liked it.
Percentage on good.
Isn't it? You laugh so you don't cry. I did it once, and I don't like it with people. I just don't. I have a cat. It's just, you know, I'm a mum.
3 cats.
Oh, there you go. You're a mum of
4.
3.
I had 4 when I moved here. Yeah.
It's not. You know what I mean? He's bougie. Isn't he just? I did it once, and it was tight, but it was important to me to do that. So I think my rent was about, what did I say, about 45% of my income. Back at the time I was vegan, so it was cheap. But it was important to me to do that, and I loved it, honestly. But the rent crisis is just absolutely insane here. Salaries are terrible, and also I do have health concerns, which means living on my own could potentially be very dangerous. Which is why I have chosen to live with people. But yeah, it's just, I think so many more people would live on their own if they could financially. It's just not meant to be, unfortunately, for many people in my generation, unless you got very, very lucky, unless you had your head screwed on from 19 and you knew to save and you could get a mortgage or get a partner. I know a lot of people living with their exes because of rent. So yeah.
So a question to you: why do you not move out of these really big, expensive cities? And kind of, because that's where the most opportunities are, but also the cost of living is extremely expensive as well.
Yes, I lived, it was because of my jobs. I wanted good, well-paying jobs. I didn't want to have to commute. When I was living in Barcelona, I worked in central Barcelona, and I did live for 2 years in Sitges, which is about 45 minutes. It's nice, isn't it?
A gay place.
The gay capital.
White males, yeah.
literally everyone, it's a gay white man's town. Anyway,
Mas Palomas here is the exact same thing.
Exactly. Yeah, they do the swapsies every summer. Yeah. I lived there and I commuted every day, about an hour and a half. And it just, the thing is, to work in Spain and make good money, you've got to work long hours. And the last thing you want to do is eat into your free time with an hour and a half commute. I didn't think it was worth it for me, especially in the winter. Like, I wouldn't see daylight because I'd go to work to get there at 8. I started at 8, which is horrific. I get the train at 6:30, which was pitch black. And then I get home at 7, pitch black. And all through the winter, I was like, I can't really enjoy anything in the daylight anymore because I was in the office all day. So I decided to move into Barcelona just to have some extra time. I moved across the road from work, which made the commute about 2 minutes. And I did enjoy it more, but I think you have to sacrifice something really big to live comfortably in Spain. You have to sacrifice quality, you have to sacrifice free time, you have to sacrifice mental health. There's just so many things. I don't think you can ever get the perfect balance, unfortunately, especially as an expat.
As a black expat, so you wouldn't think about moving to Andalusia or more inland where it's cheaper, where, for example, if you're doing things online, I don't know whether your private business is online or not, or whether it's a potential business, but where everything, the cost of living is a lot cheaper. No,
I've considered it. I would have really liked to have lived in Asturias because I just love greenery. I love the rain. It sounded perfect. But the community wasn't there. And so to give you like a little bit of history, I lived in Madrid, moved to Barcelona, and then came back to Madrid. And largely that was because of the community.
Okay.
I feel like the Melanin Madrid experience has made my living experience here what I think it's probably been the main positive in it, really. And I know down south, I've been there a few times and it's lovely. It's a lot more ignorance. It's just, I've always been at that point where it's like, okay, Madrid or another part of Spain. And I've always been like, Madrid for security, for opportunities, for stuff. And then it's either been between Madrid or home. So it's one of those things I've thought about, but I'm like, should I do it another year and just know that I'm going to be stagnant here for another year? Like, what's the point? And so I'm at that age now where I'm like, no, we've got to crack on. So maybe I'll retire somewhere nice, but not right now.
Okay. Now you need someone with a totally different energy and opportunities and so on. So you feel that they are going to be available, or have you already lined things up back in the UK? Do you feel like the doors are kind of opening as we speak for you?
Yes, they've been open. Definitely. It's funny because I've come back to Manchester a few times to get stuff done, photo shoots and things like that. And every time I've come back, an opportunity has opened itself up and I've been like, no, I'm going home in 2 days. Oh, I'm going back to Spain in 2 days. And it's funny, I know as soon as I go home, I'm going to be set. And that's kind of what's made this experience here really bittersweet, because I know I've always had something better waiting for me and I've always just been like, no, tapas. And so yeah, I know it's a walk in the park. My sister and my whole family lives in, well, my dad lives in Malaga, but my mum and my siblings and my in-laws live in the UK. I already have like a support system there. I already have so many opportunities there that the itch is just to go back home, and I've finally just decided to scratch it because it's keeping me up at night.
Well, that's good. You understand where your place is, that you've got a plan, that you can see, how you can move forward in your life and achieve your dreams, because that's what it comes down to. These feelings of frustration and lack of opportunities and the lack of support and the lack of doors opening, they beat you down.
They really do.
Make for a really difficult life, and they have an impact on mental health and emotional and physical. And I'm feeling like I don't have that feeling to go back to the UK. But I hear you in terms of everything that you said. And so there is a Black community here in Gran Canaria.
Yeah, my girlfriend actually lived there before she came here. Yeah, she was
what did she say?
I think she came here, I think it was 3 years ago, and she lived in Gran Canaria for 4 years. I actually don't know. I asked her what it was like. She's a football coach, so she was coaching kids football all She taught English there as well. All of her students and all of her colleagues and everybody else was white. I don't know if she knew of many Black people there. I should ask her, actually. It was something that I just haven't asked her. She loved Gran Canaria, though. She absolutely loved it.
Okay.
She's more of like a slow living type of, she's a lot like me. We don't belong in the big city. We're supposed to be sipping a drink somewhere on the beach. But she had a great experience there. But I actually don't know what her experience of Black people there was like, honestly. So I will ask her.
It's an interesting one, because what happens here is there are lots of issues with race relations, because it's an entry point into Europe. And so,
I figured so.
And then the cost of living is comparable to Madrid and Barcelona, but the salaries and the job opportunities, like being in a remote village in Ronda or something like that. You know, it's tourism or nothing at all. It's waiting a table or teaching English, maybe part-time. So yeah, it's an interesting place to live. It's an understatement. I think we're going to kind of start to wrap things up, unless there's anything that you want to say. But I just want to ask you, maybe you've already said it, but what are the kind of, what's the one overriding negative thing about living in Spain as a Black British person? And what are the two positive things that you would like to say about living and having lived in Spain for, you know, that you've been here?
The only one negative,
yes.
I think.
This is the teacher in me. Just the one.
I think racism, ignorance, it prevents you from getting anywhere, really. I think that's the one negative. And then the two positives of living here, I mean, it's Spain. You know, it's good quality food, nice lifestyle, everything's walkable, at least in Madrid. There's just, it's a nice, like, cultural hotbed. I think there are things to do. And another positive, I would say, it's because you caught me at the end of my life here, so everything for me is like, another positive I would say about living in Spain, I guess it's proximity to Italy, Portugal. You know, it's easy to get from Spain to other parts of Europe. Generally good climate. You could be healthy here, you know what I mean, if you really wanted to be. Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. Well, is there anything else that you'd like to add to the Black Expat Experience in Spain podcast?
I would like to encourage people to form community, find like-minded people, and give themselves visibility. We need to know who's out there, who's making it, who's not. We need to hear from people and their experiences. I think it's really important to hear from people and the lives they're living. So we've got something to connect over, and we've got something to offer support for and things like that, because I think that's necessary as a Black person in Spain. And yeah, take space. Like, one thing I've noticed here is that people expect you, if you're Black, to just move over. No. Yeah, exactly. People walk up to you as if you're the one going to move. Don't move. Take space. Like, celebrate your cultural holidays. Wear your head wraps and your braid. Like, take up space. Don't. No, I don't want to. You know, if you want to have electric green locks, go for it. Like, you should do. And if people want to ask you ridiculous questions, just look them in the eye and go, "You ready for that?"
Me.
Yes. You know, take up space. Don't let people make you feel like you're supposed to be the tiny minority and you're supposed to stay over here. No.
And be quiet. Yeah. That's the key thing.
Don't do that.
Big one for me.
Definitely.
Okay, so there are probably other things that I could ask you and say to you, and I think that there are so many commonalities between our experiences. Yeah. And it's been absolutely fabulous having you on.
Thank you. It's been a
pleasure.
Fellow
queer woman, which I didn't know until today. And the Black experience is the Black experience wherever we are. And it's great to connect and to start forming different types of communities in different ways. Definitely. And hearing those stories. So thank you very much for your time, Natalie.
Thank you for having me. It's been wonderful.
Absolute pleasure. Take care. Have a safe journey back home. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.